You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. My name is Arya and this is your next video update for Wednesday, December 14th, 2016. NXT this week, it was heavy on the in-ring action, very, very light in the out-of-the-ring stuff, all setting up next week's number one contenders match. But we kick things off, not in Full Sail, but in Melbourne, Australia, with the Steel Cage match, as Samoa Joe challenged Shinsuke Nakamura for the NXT Championship. The show was backwards, folks. The main event's on first. The match started slow with nothing really happening until 5 minutes in when Joe slammed Nakamura back first into the cage. We got a very sudden and very awkward cut to the commercial break where the announcers were talking, and suddenly, out of nowhere, we were watching a commercial for Roadblock. Just like last week's match, they edited a lot out of this one, as after the break we were already at the finish. Nakamura dropped Joe on his head with a German suplex, but he did get on the Coquina clutch. Nakamura got out of that by teasing the Bret Hart-Roddy Piper WrestleMania 8 finish as he ran up the ropes to try for a pin, but Joe kicked out of that. They fought on the top rope for a bit, but Nakamura knocked Joe off and actually hit the Kinshasa off the top rope. However, Nakamura was unable to make the cover. He started fighting for the cage door, but then decided that no, he didn't want to escape the cage. He got up, he hit Joe with one Kinshasa, went to the corner, got Joe to his feet, hit a second one, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, Shinsuke Nakamura pins Samoa Joe one more time and retains the NXT Championship in Melbourne, Australia. After that, we are magically whisked away back to Full Sail University for the rest of the show. We start things off by being reminded that 3 weeks ago, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce walked out on Daria Berenato during a 6-woman tag team match. Billie and Peyton cut a promo backstage saying that they did not lose the 6-woman tag. Daria lost the 6-woman tag. They do not associate with losers and were very confident and cocky until Daria walked up and said she's going to hurt one of them next week. And later on it was announced that Billie Kay was going to be the one that she plans on hurting next week. The rest of the show was devoted into number one contenders qualifying matches, with the 4 winners facing off next week in a fatal 4-way elimination match. The first one up was the shortest one of the night, Ty Dillinger versus Eric Young. Eric got 30 seconds of offense before Dillinger cut him off. Ty hit the 10 punches of doom in the corner and seemed to already be teasing the tiebreaker when Nikki Cross ran into the ring for the disqualification. After the match, Dillinger threw Young, Alexander Wolf, and Nikki Cross out of the ring, but he was attacked by Damo. Damo, who by the way needs better fitting pants, left Dillinger lying. In another number one contenders match, Andrade Cien Almas defeated No Way Jose. Almas, I believe, is the only person in NXT with pyro. It's not great pyro, it's not tremendous pyro, but it's still pyro, and that makes him stand out, or at least his entrance stand out. Like pretty much every match on the show, it was not very long. These qualifying matches were very basic, with the person who ended up losing usually getting most of the offense of the match. Jose took most of the match, but cut off and quickly dropped with the hammerlock DDT, with Almas picking up the win. Then, in similar fashion, Roderick Strong pinned Elias Sampson. The Drifter continues to get the only real heat in NXT. Sure, it's go-away heat, but it's still the only heat anyone actually gets now that Eva Marie is gone. Speaking of that, can you imagine the heat if Elias, Sampson, and Eva Marie were an on-screen couple? I think the fans' heads would explode for that one. Sampson, like I said, took most of the match. Strong fought back, hit Darren Young's gut check, and won with the running kick to the face. And that led us already to the main event because, when you squeeze 5 matches in a promo into 60 minutes, it all tends to go pretty quickly. Bobby Roode versus Oney Lorcan. If you recall, Oney Lorcan, formerly known as Christopher Gerard, defeated Ty Dillinger back in July and then disappeared for a few months. He did show up a few times after that, but for the most part, it was like that match with Dillinger never happened. This was the most competitive of the 4 qualifying matches, but again, that's really not saying much, especially considering I summed up the other 3 matches in about 30 seconds. Roode got the early advantage, but when he slowly raised his arms to the air to yell "glorious," Lorcan took his head off with an uppercut. Lorcan at one point placed Roode on the top rope and appeared to go for a back superplex off the top, but Roode elbowed him off. Lorcan got a near fall off of a running buff blockbuster, but unfortunately no one believed he had a chance to win, and ultimately that was proved as Roode hit a spine buster and then won with the Impaler DDT. So next week it's Bobby Roode, Ty Dillinger, Andrade Almas, and Roderick Strong in a fatal 4-way match. The winner becomes the next number 1 contender to face Shinsuke Nakamura. And that's actually going to do it for this week. I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days.
You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.